Hello everyone, welcome to Glass Half Dead, and if you're a subscriber, double hello. If you want to double hello in the next video, subscribe now. This video is just a bit of a think piece and rant and rumination about what miniature gamers really want and why Warhammer is basically the answer to that question. This is coming from the perspective of someone that's made a YouTube channel focusing on the more competitive and gameplay side of the hobby for the last 2 years. For anyone that follows me, you know that I hate painting. I don't really like the hobby side of the game, and yet we all also know that on my desk right in front of me are paints and models that I am working on right now. Why? Warhammer is the best miniatures game. Bold words, and I see a lot of you hovering over that dislike button. How could I make such a claim when clearly, as everyone knows, Warhammer is not a good game? So what do I really mean? Whilst other miniature companies struggle to break into the market, and they remain niche games, and they hit their maximum potential player base really very quickly before fading out, why does Warhammer remain king? When we're still playing with a rule set that is, by most metrics, a bad rule set when discussing player experience, why can't any other company break through the fog of rules? Well, let's look at those other companies, shall we? Now, I'm not calling out any specific company because that doesn't matter, but we all know the other players in the game. They put out a robust rule set, claim it to be far better as a balanced and competitive game than their competitors, of course being Games Workshop, let's be honest, and they pull over a small but faithful community of players, but they never really break through a certain point, a tipping point if you will. What's limiting these companies, and why is Games Workshop one of only about 10 companies in the UK that is able to, at the moment this might change upon release of this video or in the future, that are paying back their furlough loans because despite COVID, they've had a record-breaking year? Why is Games Workshop breaking personal best whilst other companies aren't? Same industry, different results. Why is Warhammer the best game? Because it's not competitive. Blackjack Legacy recently did a little think piece about how competitive games die early, partly inspired by Steamforged Games killing their lead title, Guild Ball. Link to his video somewhere on screen now, check that out, pretty good talk. In a competitive game, every release is vital. As soon as the stats of the model are seen, your entire audience has already decided whether they will buy that model or not. And as the game is pitched as a competitive game, the majority of your players are playing it because of that. Unless the model is outrageously attractive, most won't buy it if it doesn't make their team better in the game. Because of this, every unit needs to be playtested and balanced and have a role and a purpose. But let's look at Games Workshop. How many times have you heard someone say, I know they're not great, but I really want to make them work? And why do they say that? Because they love the model or the idea of the role that model fills in the army, right? They want to make an all-close combat Tau army, or an all-Nobs Orc list without boys, or an all-Zangor Thousand Suns army. Whatever it is, right? They know it sucks in the game, and they love it anyway. They've bought an entire army that they know sucks. They have spent hundreds of pounds, maybe thousands, on something that's not good competitively. Hobby. Games Workshop is all about the hobby and the narrative. They've recently hired on a new competitive Warhammer community member and pushed out a great little tournament pack, and that's making like 10% of the players happy, right? And that's great. Good rules are good. But they don't really need good rules. They do need rules. A lot of people like to have the goal of playing the game with their armies regardless of how much those rules suck. But how often do you hear that people just like to collect and paint the models? Online, we've all seen these people that only play the hottest list, that only play Space Marines now because they're insane, and they're going to have a new army every 3 months because that's what they love to do, and that's fine. But if competitive matters, why is Games Workshop hyping the Crusade format harder than anything else? The thing is, the hobbyists are the ones that need a community the least. So online, we see a lot of the community focusing on the game itself and competitiveness and list building. But Games Workshop has openly said that the majority of their players don't care about the rules. They like throwing a handful of dice on the table, and that's about it. And in lockdown, that's all hobby, baby. The competitive players build their next army. The hobbyists don't even notice the difference, and everyone has more time to get hobby done. Everyone wins. And have you ever opened up a Games Workshop sprue? It's an event, it's pageantry, it's crazy fun to do. And you can compare that experience to a better looking model from another company that's not on a sprue. It's a bag of bits. That's not fun. A sprue is super fun. Now looking at the competitive games, well, chances are good everyone already has the 20 models they need to have their tight tournament list done. They need to play the game and practice. The theory crafting's been done. The hobby has been done. Now to be clear, I'm not saying hobby isn't fun in games outside of Warhammer. I'm saying the game's message has been targeted at the wrong thing, pointing to their better rule set. But it turns out the vast majority of players are in this for the hobby, the universe, and the story. Every game's rule set allows you to tell a story, and balanced rules allow that just as much as Games Workshop's hot mess of a system. But my belief is that if these other games pitch themselves to consumers based on their rules, they are doomed to mediocrity and failure. If the community of players, when trying to get new people into their competitive game, tell them, hey, our rule set is better than Games Workshop, you are setting that game up for failure. You need to talk about the universe, the lore, the background, how interesting the world is. Not that you roll 6 less dice a turn and it's super streamlined. Ultimately, people don't care about that long term and not en masse. With that said, I throw open the challenge. Prove me wrong. Genuinely, I don't pretend to know every single game out there. I would love more information. Show me a miniatures game with a tight and balanced rule set that has outdone Games Workshop. Which, yes, obviously is impossible from a gross perspective. So I mean percentage-wise, you know. Which other game system exploded in popularity because people were stuck inside for 4 months? Quick note, I'm not saying that other games don't have any aspect of hobby to them, obviously, but let's be honest, where else do you see such amazing conversions, people buying like 4 separate kits to make a single model from the bits, or the openness of colour schemes, or just the sheer creativity? For some reason, Warhammer has made that happen. Alternatively, give me your hypothesis on why me giving all of the credit to hobby and narrative is wrong. Maybe it's something else. I don't know, money laundering scheme kind of is like the first thing that pops to my mind as an alternative. Okay guys, that's the think piece and then the final wrap up questions at the end there done. Very quick personal note, regarding my channel, I'm almost thinking now that maybe I've been a bit of a fool chasing this competitive and balanced rule set, If I genuinely wanted a competitive game, it wouldn't be Warhammer. So I'm thinking when I expand into Warhammer 40k 9th edition, which hopefully will be very soon, I've got to meet up with some people so they can teach me the game, basically. And I'm thinking that perhaps everything I put out for that is going to be narrative. Of course, you can blend narrative and competitive. You can take a hard competitive list, but talk about it, you can surround that with fluff. I'm not really sure if I've seen any channels doing that, and that's a question to you. Are there any channels out there that are taking hard competitive lists, but then when they present them to you, they actually make it quite fun and fluffy? I think that would really interest me. So I watch a lot of battle report channels already, but none of them really, they're either really fluffy and like they openly admit this is a bad list, and they're just having fun, and they do the shaky cam style. Others tend to be, and maybe I'm just seeing the wrong ones, that's why I'm asking you, they tend to talk about competitive, but they don't seem to actually play the battle report and explain anything they do. They will say, oh well, this is a competitive list and I'm running it. And then that's it. They don't say, well, I moved here because this was really, I saw in the previous turn he moved there, so I countered that there, and that's... Or if they do, at least it's not in a presentation style I've really enjoyed. So that's a real question to you guys there. I'd love to know if there's a channel out there doing that. I don't care if it's tiny. It can have 2 subscribers. If they're doing good content, I'm there. Let me know. Anyway, this has been Glass Half Dead, and I hope you've had a good day and continue to have a good day. Goodbye.